Hello my friends. So today we are doing a really fun video and I can't believe I haven't tried this resin technique before and I love how it turned out. So basically we're going to be dipping fruit in resin and retaining a lot of the natural texture of it. So for this project I'm not going to be using a mold and I actually haven't seen this anywhere else, so I never really thought to do it, but I'm really excited to be experimenting with it today and see where I can go with it. And I'm excited to talk about them with you afterwards. First thing we had to do was slice up the fruit that we wanted to use, so we went to the grocery store and picked out my favorite pieces of citrus. For this project I didn't actually use an orange, I used a tangerine, so it was much smaller so we could get those smaller circles to hopefully use them for earrings. That's the goal here. I wanted to make a bunch of resin fruit earrings, so I try to get the most interesting slices. I love working with fruit because we already have bright green, bright orange, bright yellow, and bright red. Like, that's so intense. Immediately I was really excited for these pieces of fruit to get fully dehydrated. They took about 24 hours, maybe even longer. I think I left them in there for a few days just because I hadn't got around to the project yet. I put down a bunch of packaging tape to create a good slick working space. This is awesome for resin, so I can get those clear glossy backs because the packaging tape will transfer that sheen to the resin. But I had a good selection to pick from to pair up some. If I want to think earrings, then I need two similar sized slices. Last minute I decided to add in some smaller leaves that I had preserved from last fall. I've been holding on to so many beautiful colorful leaves and preserve them in this book, but for this project I was like, I don't know what it's like to dip leaves in resin either, so I wanted to try that. Then I was randomly inspired again, so I tried creating a hot glue barrier for one of the leaves to really accentuate the shape and kind of create a mold just right on the plastic. And the first step I take is just brushing a coat of resin lightly onto the leaves. I was curious on just how this would work, so really thinly these were coated and I expected to do another layer later. Spoiler, I didn't get around to that in this video. But the leaf in the glue barrier could definitely be thicker. I filled that up a little bit more and then I got underneath it and made sure there was no space for air bubbles. So there's a bunch of new stuff that we're trying today, which is always so fun. And then one at a time, using this pair of tweezers, I just dip each piece in resin and set it down on the tape. This is all I do. I don't play with it afterwards. I just let it sit and then I will touch it again once all the resin is fully cured and I can take these guys to the next step. There was a point that I started to run out of resin, so not all of these slices got completely coated, but I worked with what was there, so I just dunk each slice one after the other. I was really excited about the simplicity of this project. Being so allergic to epoxy resin really has given me a new outlook, and I kind of wanted to see if I could do such a fast project that I was hardly exposed to the resin at all, but then how rewarding it was to actually go through with it. So this one took me very little amount of working time, just dip and go, and next time I probably wouldn't even do this many pieces at once. Usually I don't do this many in one project, but I was able to because the process was so quick and required no molds. So here we have our cured pieces with just one layer of resin on them. I'm gonna peel all of these off to see if we should add another layer. I really wanted to be as minimalist with this process as possible, just because it's my first time doing it and I can always add more later. So I really want to examine these pieces. I think I'm gonna sand them down, make them look as good as possible, and then decide if I want to top coat them. Yeah, so let's see how this turned out. I think we're just gonna rip this entire piece of paper apart to get these undone. They're pretty stuck on there. And then can we turn these into earrings? We shall see. After about 24 hours, once it's cured, I can pull it off in full sheets, and I think this is so cool. I get to examine it as one big piece before I have to cut it up, sand it down, polish it up, and turn these into actual jewelry or charms. Did I mention yet this video how convenient newsprint is as a working surface? Cleanup is so easy, and being able to break these guys out of their mold was super easy because it was just paper. So cool, so thin. I love this. This is how our DIY mold turned out. That's really cool. That really defines the edge. That's so interesting. I kind of love it. Wish we didn't break this leaf so much, but that is potential for sure. And with only adding one layer, we really retain all the texture of the fruit, all those seeds, and I kind of love that I can feel it. And I use my Dremel to shave down the rest of the resin. Whenever I'm sanding, I also find it super useful to have a brush on hand because the dust gets everywhere. And especially for this project, since we're leaving a lot of natural texture, there were a lot of little grooves that the sand could get into. So a brush was essential to get these all clean. These are kind of just like laminating something, but honestly, who doesn't love a good lamination? So I noticed the edge cracking a little bit as I was cutting it, so obviously it doesn't like the scissors very much. I'm just gonna wait for that to charge and then sand it down gently the rest of the way. These are so pretty, wow. Up all those Dremel lines, I used some nail polish. I don't have to use the polish everywhere, I just use it in those select areas. Could drill holes into the piece. So not all of these survived the drilling process, but it did turn out a lot better than I expected. I was nervous that some of the pieces would be too thin and too flimsy to be turned into different jewelry, but the strawberries, even though they were thin, they were mighty and turned out really secure, and I'm happy about those. Wanted to ooh and ah over the transparency of the lemon too. I thought it was so glowy and nice, but we have to finish this project first. So I clasp on a bunch of jump rings and lobster clasps. I put some on chains, the ones that I thought were too big to be earrings or just didn't have a buddy to pair up with. So they just turned into sun catchers, which I think they work so well as sun catchers. When sunshine goes through those colorful striations of fruit and orange, and it reflects light in a beautiful way. So at first I tried to make these orange slices a pair of earrings, but one of the slices definitely didn't come out as nice as the other, and I decided to drill a hole where it was kind of weak and ended up breaking the piece. It always happens per project. There's some casualties that don't make it out, but I decided to string it up on a chain instead. The limes turned out amazing, so those could definitely become earrings, no problem. I know I keep calling them oranges. I know they're clementines. You get it, they're orange. Here is a bonus unmolding of some fruit skin bookmark. And here are some close-ups of the final pieces. So I'm really happy with how a lot of these turned out. I love how closely you can really examine these slices of fruit and they'll just stay like that. For this project I used Craft Smart resin. I am just getting through my bottle of that epoxy and it worked out really great for this really thin layer. I don't really notice any bubbles at all, but it was just a little resin dip. how all these dipped fruit pieces turned out. I am so pleased with how much vibrancy we get in this. Like, we have the green from the lime skin, the vibrant orange. Like, there's nothing more orange than an orange. Like, aptly named. Well done. I really love how these turned out because there's so much natural quality to them still. Like this one, for example, you can see all the grooves where the seeds are, and you can just see the lines of the fruit. And it's just such a thin coat of resin, but I think it's plenty to preserve it completely. And I think it'll retain these colors forever because we already dehydrated it and there's no moisture in there to be lost. And that's just the natural color that we got. This one I always string around my van already. This is the one I see like every day and I'm really obsessed with it. I want to do more dangling ones to add to this. I would love to add a grapefruit. I've done a slice of grapefruit in resin before and it's like one of my favorite things. It's the best color, but I've never done it with just dipping it in resin. So I think I'm gonna try this with a bunch of different fruits just because it turned out so successfully in my opinion. My favorite ones I think are these strawberries. Strawberries are like so delicious. I like how you can see through the middle and it closed up the resin. This is just one little dip in resin and then I drilled a hole, and it's definitely strong enough for a hole to be drilled in there and a jump ring added without worrying about it breaking later. It's really on there. Even though it seems so thin, it's pretty sturdy. So here's some earrings. These were the bigger pair and then I made a smaller pair as well. So these ones are really cute. Oh yeah, and I did this extra resin bookmark randomly. This one is just a bunch of polka dots of strawberry and then there's some slices of grape too. Those are kind of cool, have a little bit of a beige, greenish tinge, but they're really transparent and super thin. It's interesting when I know what it is, but this isn't my favorite. Oh, and I also have some raspberry at the bottom too, which I love raspberry in resin. I would love to do a dipped raspberry or a dipped cross section of a raspberry. That would totally be cool. So I didn't even finish this one off yet. It needs some sanding, but I also love the limes. So the limes, this one was completely sealed up, which is cool. So it's just smooth and I had enough resin to completely fill this one up. This one has a little bit more texture on the front. I think these look really, really cool. There was a little bit of cracking on the side. That's why you can see that white. But yeah, these are transparent in a really beautiful way. It's a really glowy yellow and it's just so many like sparkly colors. Like the veins are just like browns and golds and shimmery. It's like, I love looking at these. I think they're so pretty. Even with all the air bubbles, I think the air bubbles help the design and make it look like a fruit, like a nice juicy fruit. So here are some lime earrings. They're a different size, but you know, organic process. Maybe eventually I'll make more and I can pair them up better, but yeah, these were just the best two slices that I thought would work well. You saw in the video that I tried to do some orange earrings, which would have been fun, but this one didn't get very much resin, so there was this huge air bubble on the back, and I tried to drill a hole on the thinnest part and broke through, so that wasn't a good idea. But I do love the middle of these oranges. I love how you can see me. Wow, it's like a fisheye lens because it turned into like a bubble as it cured, sloping down. And this is just really thinly coated as well, so you can see all those natural textures, and fruit is just so beautiful. It's like, it has pattern, it has color, it's like everything. Fruit is like grown from the sun. It has such a direct connection to the sunshine and to the earth. And I think when I look at these slices of fruit that I can see the sun in the fruit. Like, look, from the center of this strawberry, it's like striations, sun rays going out just like from a center. And I feel like there's a similar pattern in all the fruit. See, there's like a little star in the center of this and all this color and movement and veins. Okay, I'm getting on a tangent, but I think fruit's really pretty and I love playing with it in resin. So just to make sure I said, this one was a lemon, this one was orange, and then we did 4 strawberry slices and then some lime earrings. It's definitely inspired a future project, so I will be hitting up the grocery store soon. And until then, thank you for watching, and I hope you also found this kind of enjoyable. If you watched this far into the video, give this a like and subscribe. I never ask that, but I want to see if it makes a difference if I ask. So please remember to like, subscribe, share if you want to, and have a good one.